And welcome to another episode of the Bakari Sellers podcast. Today, I have a very, very exciting guest, Condola Rashad. How are you feeling today? What's up?
I'm feeling sunny today.
I don't know. It was amazing. As soon as we started talking, I don't know if it's the show or just my voice or what it is, but the lighting just hit you perfectly right there.
I know. I realized it too. I was like, oh, here we are. We have arrived.
Yeah, it's like that. What do they call it? That golden hour. My wife always trying to take pictures at 5 o'clock for IG. Anyway, we start each one of our conversations on my show by helping our listeners understand how the individual we're talking to got to where they are. So we like for you to walk us through the arc of your career. And you've had well over a decade of steady, critically acclaimed performances on stage and television. At what point did you realize that acting was your passion?
Well, I've always known. I was born a storyteller. Storytelling runs in my family. It's something that just genetically flows through us, starting with my grandmother, Vivian Ayers Allen. So I've always known I was a storyteller. And, as a young person, actually, my first expression, and even now, is music. But I was always with my mother when she was, not only filming her television show, but my mother did a lot of theater as a young person when I was a young person. So as a young person, I spent a lot of time in the theater with her. And so I was able to see the process of theater, from the table reading to the rehearsals to tech rehearsals to, revising to opening night. So I was there seeing the whole thing, not just the red carpet and the reviews and all the things that most people are, associate with what it is that we do. But I was there from seeing the seed all the way to the flower. And I became very passionate about what that journey was and is, because it's like sand art, it's like we spend all this time and we create this thing and then we blow it and it goes away and then we move on, so something about that has always spoken to me. So,
oh man, it sounds, and I was probably going to get to this later in the show, but I've had some amazing actors on this show, and a lot of whom are now on TV who have a background in theater. But most of them get more gratification out of theater because of the immediacy of the crowd. Tell me, which one do you prefer and why?
So I don't have a preference, but I will say theater, absolutely. There is something about theater that is, you can't really recreate what that is. Mm-hmm. So there is something very special about theater. And also I enjoy film. I enjoy, television. They all have their golden coins. But yes, theater is just the how in the moment theater is something that can't be recreated, right? Because it literally cannot be recreated. You might be doing the same show in terms of the same words, but it's never the same performance. So everybody that comes, and depending on where you sit, everybody's receiving something different. Whereas with television and film, yes, people are receiving from their own filters. So in that way, it's a new experience, but the product is the product. It is what it is. Like the final product of the thing is what it is, and you don't get to go back and fix it, and you can watch it and be like, oh, I don't know why I made that choice, but you can't go back and fix it. Whereas theater, you're constantly renewing the form, so.
Yeah, no, I as I was told, the gratification of that immediacy and having that crowd there is unlike anything else. But the pay, being on TV and movies, is a little different. I ask all actors this, but when you're deciding whether to take a role or not, what has to jump out at you for you to say yes? And even more importantly, is there a role that you've turned down that you later saw and wish that you'd taken?
What has to jump out at me is, where's the challenge? I always look for, what's the challenge? Is this something that I feel that in my scope of work is kind of along the lines of something that I've done or that I've been doing or that is my comfort zone? And if so, if I really, really, really like it, I might still do it. But for the most part, I always go for where the challenge is. And that it doesn't necessarily always mean, what the largest role is or what the most lines of a role is. In fact, when I was in a play, Trip to Bountiful, with our beloved Miss Cicely Tyson.
Oh man, she was a guest on the show. Yes.
With all my heart every day. That challenge for that, I played a role in that. And that challenge there it was actually quite a simple role. And it was very supporting of Miss Tyson's role. So already I was going to say yes because it's Miss Tyson. But
of course,
in terms of the actual role itself, my challenge was because on the page, this character might have appeared to just be kind of a straight edge character and my challenge was, how do I find the depth in this character? How do I find all of these colors? How do I find an arc when it's actually so straightforward? So in that case, it actually wasn't about how much I had to do, but actually how I could portray a character effectively and colorfully that actually didn't really have that much to do.
You know, she speaking of Miss Tyson, was one of, I mean, if not the best guest. We've had over 100 guests from Hillary Clinton to everyone you can imagine, but her grace, it was the last interview she did before she passed, which brings me to a question of, when you think about the art that you perform, who are some of the women or men that you look up to? And it seems like, and the reason I ask you is because I think about Cicely Tyson, I think about Sidney Poitier, and are there any ones that you want to give their flowers to while they're living as well?
Oh, the list goes on and on and on, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Miss Tyson absolutely was, and is in my heart. Miss Vanessa Williams, I had the pleasure. I've been very fortunate. I've had so many opportunities to work with such legendary storytellers.
Yeah, I don't even know if I could get in the presence of Vanessa Williams and utter words.
No, that's my fairy godmother. I love her with my whole heart. You know, from there to Miss Alfre Woodard and Miss Jill Scott and Adepero Oduye, who I worked with, and Viola Davis I've never worked with, but I know her from a young person. When I was little, she and my mother were in an off-Broadway play called Everybody's Ruby, which was about Zora Neale Hurston. And so I've been knowing Viola for a long time. I've been knowing Viola was the force that she is for a long time. And I was this little kid and I used to just go and play her in a dressing room all the time. But that's my memory of Miss Viola Davis. But
it's something about those South Carolina roots. Shout out to Viola Davis from South Carolina and many others from South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Let's talk about Billions. For people who have been under a rock and haven't caught any of the prior 5 seasons, first of all, with the way shows are getting cut right now, making it to 5 seasons is an utter blessing. And those checks get bigger each season. So shout out and congrats to that. Tell folk who've been living under a rock, what is the show about? And who is Kate Sacker, who I love?
I would say in a nutshell, it is a financial drama that's pretty funny. And it was, and now it's transforming, a kind of a cat and mouse chase between the Attorney General and this huge hedge funder. So it's basically this cat and mouse game between law and billionaires. And that's the overview. I could go into many, many different ways of getting in there, but that's the scope of the thing. And it was between Chuck Rhodes, played by Paul Giamatti, and Axelrod, played by Damian Lewis. And now Damian Lewis has left the show, and now we are going into a new world with this new billionaire, played by Corey Stoll, named Prince. Yeah. And so it's a new journey. Axelrod was very brash. Axelrod was very, he was energetically, he was very fiery, Mars energy. And now we have this new character. And I find it very interesting because as I'm watching it, and normally I don't watch the season.
I was about to say, wait a minute, pause. So wait a minute. Like news, CNN is vastly different than what you do. I never watch myself.
I never do either. Normally until afterwards. So normally with Billions, like I've seen some of the episodes in the past, but always much later than when they come out. But this season, because there are some twists and turns both with the character and also in the show, I genuinely am just very curious to see like, oh, like what does the show look like now? I'm like all y'all. I actually want to watch. I want to see. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't remember. So as I'm watching the show, it's very interesting because we have this new character, and I'm very fascinated. Like I genuinely want to know what happens, even though I'm on the show and I should know what happens. I don't, and you just forget. It all becomes a big blur when you're working on it. But this new character, Prince, is this very seemingly gracious character who seems to be on the quote unquote right side of things, morally speaking.
Yeah.
Which, as much as he can. And so that creates a little bit more of an intrigue for me, only because you're like, is this a good, am I for this guy?
I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if I believe that.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why you got to keep watching.
You know, I'm a fan of the show, and your character has grown a lot on the show, from being Chuck's staff lawyer to being his trusted advisor.
Yeah.
And at some point, starting to think and act like Chuck, respectfully. So talk about the growth of your character, and without spoiling anything, what can we look forward to in the new season as the iteration of, because watching you transform and being a lawyer, you kind of see people who grow similarly to the way that you did.
Okay, well, Kate Zacher is a very ambitious, I would say quite serious person. It's funny when people meet me and they don't know me, and sometimes they put together that I'm on the show. They're always like, but where? Because I'm like, yeah, no, it's a character. I'm nothing like in fact, the character I would say.
That's actually really good to know. Thank you for that. Because, you know, some people are their character. But
no, I would say honestly, in almost every way, down to fashion, polar opposite. Like just absolutely, I'm way goofier than Kate Zacher. But she's fun to play because of that. But she's very ambitious. She's very driven. She comes from a well endowed family. She is someone who is not ashamed of that, but also has utilized her wit and her ambition and her intellect to get to where she is. So she doesn't rest on anything. And she's got very, very big ambitions. And it's funny for me, the growth of that character has been, I think she came into that office with a very straight understanding of what her path was. You know, I'm going to work for this man. I'm going to get to where I'm going. And I think as she got more embedded in that world, it seems that she starts to learn from Chuck and just learn from being in it, kind of the darker side of what that world can be. And some of that, the road is not necessarily such a straight road. And that even though her goal is still to do well in the world, it's interesting that she's learned, and again, I don't necessarily believe that this is necessary, but in the context of the story and in the context of, I guess, how our society lives, which is all changing, but that's another conversation. But
it's a whole nother show. Yeah.
A whole other show. But in the context of the world that we're in, she is finding that in order to get to where she's going, she's got to make a few little dark turns to get there, and so she does. And so she does. And and so that just continues to grow. That certain level of there's just a little cut. It gets more cutting edge as the seasons go on. But I think really what we see from about season 3 onward through season 5 is there's a little bit of a frustration, because I think she's aware that she's kind of overqualified for what it is that she's being given to do. And she's kind of waiting, you know, she's kind of on this clock because there's these promises of like, hey, if you stick with me this long, I will get you to where you need to go. So she's kind of like, okay, fine. But that motion's it's just not moving fast enough, right? So without giving anything away.
That's a good, I mean, you didn't tell me much, but told me a lot. So I'm more interested in watching how she gets to where she wants to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier about how shows very rarely make it this far. I don't know the average length of shows now in Hollywood and beyond. I can just tell you they don't last 5-6 seasons. So congratulations.
Thank you.
From your perch and perspective, though, and having been around this industry since you were born into it, why do you think Billions has been so successful? And where do you think in this new season they will take viewers that they haven't been before?
Yeah, so I think, well, again, I don't really know. I mean, I know that the writing, people love the writing, which is great. I think the cast is phenomenal. So we got that. You got a phenomenal cast. You've got really intellectual and witty writing. So, and then I think people just loved, at the time, I think people just loved the drama between this Chuck Rhodes and this Axelrod character, and also the gravitas of that Axelrod character. I think really just drew people in, but now that character is no longer there, and we have Prince. So I think what I'm excited about, and from what I remember of filming season 6, which we did this last year.
This is hilarious that you're like, I was there, but I can't really remember, what I was there for.
Like I said, sand art, once it's over, I don't know, clean slate, I don't remember. I blocked it out, but what I'm very excited about, and what I would encourage for people to tune in specifically in season 6 is, like I said, because of this new character, the entire show shifts, because that lead character of Axelrod kind of set the tone for what the show was. Now we have a new kind of lead billionaire character. And instead of having that be topical, which is like, okay, we're going to use the same formula, but just add this new character. This new character kind of set us up for a new formula in terms of how the show works. Now, again, it's the still same drama between the two and how that works. But I feel like because this character is a little bit more subtle and there's a lot of layers there and you don't really know what to think, every character kind of takes that on. So it becomes more mysterious this season, where you're really like, wait, I really need to know. I don't know which side I'm supposed to be. Like, it gets deeper in that way. And I think the character development this season is a lot richer, which is really
there y'all go messing with my anxiety, but that's okay. We'll tune in. When will season 6 premiere, and how can we watch the show?
Yeah, season 6 actually premiered last Sunday, which was what? February. January.
No, you had me walking down the wrong path.
January 8th.
January 23rd.
Okay, great. January 23rd. And yeah, it's on Showtime, and the second episode will be on Sunday. It's every Sunday. Yeah.
So just a couple more questions before I get you out of here, and you can continue to change the world with your art. For individuals who are listening to this show, and people come for, I always think they come to hear my voice, but they really don't. They come for the politics and the sports and the entertainment, the culture and the art. Talk to people about how they can be like you. What are some of the steps that people can take if their goal is to move to New York or move to LA or get into TV or get into theater, and they hear these stories about going to be a bartender and, trying to get these gigs? How can people start down that path?
Okay. Well, first of all, I would say, definitely don't try to be like me. Just be you. And then I would say, diligence. If you have the impulse, if you have the spark to move through space as an artist, to offer yourself as an artist, the road can be tough, but it is possible, and it is necessary and needed. We need artists, we need them, we need you. But be diligent and know why you're doing what you're doing. For example, are you doing this for Instagram followers? Are you doing this for
preach now? Go ahead.
Recognition? Are you doing this to wear a beautiful dress on a red carpet? Are you doing this for an award? Are you doing this for a nomination? Now, here's the thing. If that is why you're doing this, there's no judgment here. There's no right or wrong. That's your journey. But understand that if that is why you're doing this, you may be setting yourself up for a role that is not as fulfilling as it would be if you were doing this because it is what you have to offer. Not about what people will give you and how you will be seen, but what it is that you have to offer to everyone else. If you can come at it with that mindset, even when the road gets tough, you never lose your light because you're driven from something else.
That's a very, very, very powerful answer. I was going to begin to pursue my artistic career because people tell me often I look like a young Denzel from Glory.
Yeah.
Especially when the light hits me. But I'm gonna hold off on that and stay in my lane. How can people find you? What projects are you working on? What are your socials? Anything new you can tell us about? Because when I ask this question to folks, they be like, "Oh, I'm working on this top secret Marvel thing, and I can't tell you."
Yeah, no, I can tell. Okay, so I am my socials. I really am on Instagram. I don't really utilize Twitter so much, but my Instagram handle is Dola Bunny.
Dola Funny or Dola Bunny?
Dola Bunny. My mom
Okay.
used to call me Bunny, so Dola Bunny. And I am working on some very exciting things. In 2020, I released my first solo visual album under the name Dola.
Okay.
And
is it like Lemonade? I mean, is it that good? Is that what we're talking about? All right.
It's self-produced, so it was really fun. But yeah, so Space Daughter, and that's on, you can find that anywhere, and the music is on every platform you can find. So right now, because it's a conceptual album, for the past 5 months and for the next month, I am working on the music for part 2 of that project. It's a sequel, y'all. And the way that I rock is like similar with films. If you're gonna make a sequel, it better be better.
Gotta be better.
So I'll be working on that, and then I'll get into the video process of that this summer once it's been mixed and mastered. So that's kind of my life right now. And then I am headed to Italy for a while. that's a whole other journey we can talk about, but I have like a very deep connection with Italy. And so I learned the language, and I will be working from there a bit. And so that's a next chapter of my life.
I love that. I love that subtle humility. I'm gonna go spend time with my other people, my second language in Italy. Well, thank you so much, Condola, for joining us today. Shout out to your family and everybody for their great contributions to our culture. We love you, and anything we can do to support you, we will. Have a blessed day.
Thank you so much. Have a blessed day to you too.
All right.